Now we have Big Table 3, and here we will deep dive into reigniting passion and purpose in everyday classrooms through intentional pedagogy. Our session is titled The Purpose Prescription. Can teaching be soulful again? Join me in welcoming our speakers onto the stage. Our host for this session is Mr. Arijit Ghosh, VP Academics, Seth MR Jaipuria Schools. Mr. Ratnesh Kumar Jha, Global General Manager, ETS. Mr. Gautam Rajgarhia, Pro Vice Chairperson, DPS Varanasi, Nashik, Pune, Nagpur. Mr. Sanjay Khati, Head of School, Mayoor School, Ajmer. Ms. Mahera Goel, Head of School, Fazlani, LAcademie, Globale. Mr. Shobhan Soy, CEO, Clay Group of Schools, Punjab. Can we have a round of applause for our speakers?
I see before I or gotten a chance to speak a word, it's already down by almost 45 seconds now. Okay, so great. And Ravi, thank you for kind of putting us so much pressure by not giving the tea break, because now competing with the previous session, it's just impossible. It's just impossible, okay? But it was a fabulous, fabulous session, and this is what I basically love about ScooNews. It's about surprises. And Ravi, I am reminded, just by looking at you, I'm reminded of Sergei Bubka. I'm not very sure how many of you know Sergei Bubka. So he was a pole vaulter. Why I say Sergei Bubka is that this guy had broken his own record 35 times, world record. And this gentleman, Mr. Ravi Santilani, every year breaks the record of the previous year of Global School Ed Fest. So without further ado, I would just set the context before I invite these amazing 5 other speakers. Every morning across India, school bells ring at around 8 o'clock. Children line up, teachers scramble, flags are hoisted, prayers are said, anthems are sung. And then it begins. 8 periods, 5 subjects, 2 breaks, 0 pauses. The machines move, the metrics tick. But here's the question we rarely ask. How many children feel seen today? How many teachers remembered why they chose this profession in the first place? We measure everything: attendance, syllabus coverage, outcomes, except the one thing that probably matters the most. Did we honor the human soul today? The World Bank reports that 56% of Indian 10-year-olds cannot read a simple sentence. A 2022 Azim Premji study found 72% of teachers report high stress and emotional fatigue. And UNESCO's 2021 report states bluntly, education has lost touch with humanity's deepest hopes. But the deeper question, the loss, isn't just about learning. It's the quiet death of wonder, the erosion of purpose. One child recently told me, "Sir, school is where I come to give answers. Tuition is where I get to ask questions." That's not just a moment of reflection, that's a warning. In schools, we have invested in smart boards, AI labs, STEM labs, but not so much in connection, presence, humanity. We are watching childhood shrink, not in age, but in spirit. One of my favorite books these days, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, warns us we have replaced outdoor play with digital surveillance, exploration with overscheduling, and created a generation that's connected but not anchored. School should be the place that restores that anchor. Instead, we have matched screen time with worksheet time. We are raising children who can click but not question. And teachers, we hand them scripted lesson plans and say, deliver. But teaching isn't delivery. It's discernment, it's a devotion. So what does it mean to bring the soul back to teaching? We don't need to rewrite the education system, that's the good part. We just need to rehumanize it. Let me offer 3 provocations for every school leader present here today. Number 1, rethink the timetable. Is there any space in your schedule for unplanned reflection, creative silence, or student voice? Number 2, flip your professional development for teachers. Do your workshops only focus on tech integration and pedagogy? Or do they include sessions on selfhood, storytelling, and teacher purpose? And number 3, rewrite your appraisal sheet. Can you replace the evaluation parameter, did the teacher complete the syllabus, to did the teacher make at least one child feel seen? As we move into the era of Education 5.0, the real frontier isn't technological, it's existential. Let's reimagine school not as a place of performance, but as a space where identity, purpose, and connection are quietly restored. As Sir Ken Robinson said, education is a human system. It's about people, not mechanisms. Let's build for that. Thank you. And on that note, may I invite Mr. Ratnesh Kumar Jha.
Good evening. I know it's the last, but the one last before the last session of yours, and I think it's been an amazing day today, listening to speakers. My relationship with ScooNews go a long way. You know, we've kind of really, when Ravi first met me when I was in Cambridge, the CEO of Cambridge for Asia, and he wanted to start ScooNews, and we've had the first conversation as to what are you thinking, what kind of format, and you know, where are you thinking in terms of taking this in the future? He said, this is the platform I'm looking at, and we're looking at getting school leaders, teachers, creating some real impact. And you know, it didn't take much time for us to start exploring. From that time to see today, the festival of education which happens, which I see the manifestation in the last 2 days. I traveled all the way from Princeton, which is where I am today. Most of the time, I work for ETS. Many of you would not know ETS. ETS owns exams such as TOEFL, GRE, Praxis, TOEIC. I globally look at these products. And the only thing which I really have different than what I've done in the past I've worked in this region. This job gives me a real exposure to go across the world. So almost 20 days of a month, I would be seen in different parts, all the way starting from Mexico to China to Vietnam to Japan. As I end this session, we have a very 5-7 days conference happening of teachers and our, educators in Japan, where we actually trying to talk or have discussions similar. But I'm not. Let me be very clear that I'm a teacher. I don't teach children. I teach in some of those B schools and some of those leadership programs. I've never had in the past teaching experience in the school or the classroom. So anything which I'm saying is my experience in the education of what I've done with content, what I've done with publishing, what I've done with assessment, or what I've done by actually authoring jointly with papers on national education policy, which I think we've done some great work last couple of years. Now, a couple of points which I wanted when Rabi said that this is the session where you're going to be part of this, such a brilliant panel. I started thinking, what is my topic and what's my relevance? But teaching is such a subject, it is touches. My mother was a teacher, she was psychology teacher, and only person who's taken psychology or behavioral economics after my mother is my daughter, who's now going to the school. Now, started looking at some of the facts and how is it really impacting in various places I go and I observe. So the last International Journal of Pediatric Mental 2024 has said that pre and post pandemic, the world of teacher and student has changed significantly. About 28-30% of a classroom anywhere is really going through some kind of mental give or take. You know, large portion of our teacher today really have some or other issues which they're facing in the classroom or otherwise individually also themselves. Now I went back and seeing what's happening in 2024, the word which was really circling, or the most Oxford rate, you know, the word which was really in English making news, called brain rot. Right? Brain rot, if you go do research, is essentially really a reflection of what's happening in the society today. You know, you have a screen time, and I think Arijit mentioned about that, has gone up. You have a listening as a skill, and we do a lot of English tests. Listening as a skill has significantly gone down. You do not have an eye-to-eye gauge. We do not spend enough time with each other. We socialize, but it's also sometimes very transactional. Our own format of interaction is actually significantly gone in a different way. So I think within that context, what is this relationship between the teacher, parents, and student means today is an important question which we need to ask ourselves. And I think the only thing which I would say, and I think I see time's up here, but I only say that, our ability as a teacher to listen and engage with the changing time to a new things which is happening in the classroom or outside is the most important skill a teacher needs to take today. And I think that can be manifested as an empathy, can be manifested as somebody who's actually more has input skill rather than productive skill. Productive skill was speaking, sharing with people. Yesterday was, before a pandemic, very, very important. Post-pandemic, I think the input skill, again, circling back, that do we have our ability to listen? Do we have efforts to make, to gauge, have our own interconnectivity? All that has become important, and I think that's the only thing which I see is really common everywhere I go and every conference which I'm attending. So I think I will end it here with a brilliant panel here to talk about more in the depth about the teaching.
Thank you very much, Ratnesh. And as I request Gautam Rajgarhia to deliver his talk, I'm reminded of, obviously, Ratnesh, you have a very strong personal connect now as well, as you said. And in fact, I was doing a bit of research, one anecdote from ETS research, I just want to add, that learners remember the teacher who believed in them and not just test outcomes. This comes from the very ETS research, standardized assessments. Over to you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Okay, Amrita ma'am really had a power-packed session, and after that, I think a lot of us are outside for coffee breaks. But having, the last session in the day, I'm trying to keep it short. I'm here to talk about something in the age of AI, which a lot of us don't really talk about. So I want all of you to pause for a second and just think about your favorite teacher. And what was it about your favorite teacher that you loved so much? Was it her efficiency, or was it the way he or she made you feel? Of course, it was the way they made us feel. So often, school leaders, educators get bogged down with operations. So often we are always thinking about, Is the timetable there in place? Buses andar aayi kya? Exam prep hai? PTMs hai? You know, schools rise or fall not because of the amazing infrastructure that we create or the smart boards that we have or the timetable we make. It happens because of the culture that we grow in these schools. And this culture is an intentional act that every school leader, you and me, do this intentionally. And I say intentionally, so important because you design it. It happens intentionally every single day. A perfectly run timetable, a perfectly run school, a very efficient school, right, may not have that life in it that a school with chaos will. But sometimes having that human connection, just letting that experience makes that journey so much more meaningful for the child. I'm going to give you 4 or 5 very interesting things that we have been doing in our schools that has changed the culture. And I recognize that she's showing me the time, so 2 minutes are left. I'm quickly going to talk about 4 or 5 things. Before that, Peter Drucker said that culture eats strategy. I'm going to go one step ahead. In schools, culture eats operations for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, so 7 things that we do, I'm going to quickly point them out. Number 1, we always make time for human connections in our timetable. So 10 minutes of Samurja in the morning or 10 minutes of gratitude circle that you do first thing in the morning when you come inside. Number 2, we make sure, and all our school leaders are so invested, they make sure they are visible in the school. A school principal inside the cabin is such a scary thing. As a child, I remember finding it extremely hard to walk up to the principal's room. It was always for something that I had done not so pleasant. But having a principal out in the lobby, out in the corridors, talking, making authentic connections, both with children as well as with the teachers. Right? We celebrate success all the time, but we also celebrate effort. A child who got a 90 plus will get a medal, but a child who scored 60 and in the next term did 70 would also be celebrated. So these are small cultural shifts we try and bring. Sometimes in our schools, we'll see that the approach is top-down. You know, it's always from the principal to the teams and from the teams to the children. How about we co-create policies in the school? How about we co-create solutions to problems? Right? I fairly recognize that my time is up, but quickly, last point. If we really want to lead as principals, as school leaders, we must lead with values, with vulnerability. We must make time for teachers to breathe in the timetables. We must make time to trust them. We must make time to give them training. Only when we are ready as leaders to do that would our classes come alive. Not only that, the children that we are producing would not just be students coming out of our schools, but would be humans to take on this world. So if we really want our classrooms and teaching to be soulful, it is the culture in which we must invest. And I leave it to all of you to think about how you're going to go back and do that for your schools. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gautam. May I now invite Mr. Sanjay Khati to deliver his talk. Culture is so very important. Culture with values, with rituals, with stories, and the kind of examples which Gautam shared, I think, is tremendous and can be easily emulated by all school leaders. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. Would it have been better had we had a coffee break? I don't know. But I'll come quickly to the point. I've been a part of the legacy school of the heritage school for 25 long years, and suddenly I had to make a kind of a shift to a modern school or a day school. And I realized there's a lot of dichotomy between both the type of schools. So when this topic was floated across, a lot of ideas ricocheted in my mind, and I just thought maybe I'll just pen it down, a few quick ideas. I don't know whether these ideas would make sense or not, but I think, these ideas are worth sharing. So I was talking about the shift from a legacy heritage school, almost about, 150-year-old school, to a day school which was established in 1980. And I realized there's a kind of a dichotomy, there's a kind of a schism, there's a kind of a chasm between both the schools and the way these schools operate, and the way these schools function. The pedagogies, the transactions in these schools are very, very different. But when I think of a legacy school, one analogy comes to mind, and that is of a large hadron collider. So the protons are accelerating at a speed, and they generate a lot of energy, and as a consequence of that energy, we come across something that's called as Higgs boson or God's own particle in a different dimension. It's traveling in a different dimension altogether. That's precisely what happens in a heritage school, because there are certain practices that have sedimented over a period of time, and therefore there are certain robust transactions that are happening there that would probably give rise to such ideas. So ideas here, a lot of energy, the same energy sometimes, to my chagrin, I don't find in the school that I'm heading. But I think, if we bring that bag of values from a heritage school over to a day school, or rather modern school, if I may call it that, I think it will be really nice and transformational for the school that I'm heading right now. Arijit, a little while ago, mentioned existentialism. I think so very important in our schools, to all of us as educators. I think, if you don't find the basic, essential, rudimentary purpose and intuition of life, I think everything that we do, all transactions are worthless and meaningless. Extremely important to find that purpose in life, whether it be Franz Kafka, whether it be Albert Camus, they all talk about it. We're born with a kind of a clean slate, and we write our own stories. We write our own experiences. We share our own stories, and that is what happens, and that gives us purpose. In a legacy school, what will happen, ladies and gentlemen, is that all the people who are inhabiting the place will actually unite with a common purpose, with a common objective in mind, with a common goal, and that enables them to kind of succeed or maybe thrive. I think that is where the alchemy happens. That is where the magic happens. Sometimes, I don't know whether you all realized or not, but I've realized and probably read somewhere that the schools and the prisons and the hospitals look exactly the same. Have you ever wondered why are they kind of, designed in certain specific way? Is it an attempt, a futile attempt, to control that environment and to control the people who inhabit that environment? And therefore, I think it's very, very important, 4 things. They're very close to my heart, and that's something that I've been sharing all along. Organic education. Oh, should I end it up? I'll just take about half a minute more. So much to say, actually. So I'll just quickly kind of, wrap it up by read Jonathan Livingston Seagull, Richard Buck. Please read it. That's very, very important. Another thing, Jonathan Swift, Gulliver's Travels. I think it's a commentary on our times, and I think we must read it. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. I'll end with Oscar Wilde. He's my favorite author. End with Oscar Wilde. One quote goes for the modern schools, and the other quote would go for the residential or the boarding schools or legacy schools, whatever you might call it. If you want to be a grocer, a banker, a bureaucrat, or a general, and you work really hard for it, it is inevitable that you'll become one day. And that is precisely your punishment. This one is for a modern school. For a legacy school, dreamers find the way by moonlight, and their punishment is that they see the dawn before the rest of the world does. So may you all have that share of moonlight, that share of abundance, that share of magic.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. May I now invite Ms. Mahera Goel to deliver her talk. I think the focus of Sanjay's talk on purpose and seeing the best of the two worlds in legacy schools and modern schools was very, very brilliant stuff. Thank you. Over to you, Mahera.
Good evening, everyone. I think everyone, so I'm going to speak about something, it's a prescription. So let me tell you, I grew up with a sibling who's a doctor. So most family gatherings were all about prescriptions. Somebody came up with some ailment because there's a doctor in the room. So when Ravi came up with this concept about the prescription, I was absolutely thrilled. There I was, now getting a chance to actually roll out a prescription. But let me tell you, I don't have a stethoscope. I don't have a fancy clinic. But I do have a prescription for something that every school needs: teacher well-being. So no side effects, no pharmacy visits, just a few pit stops to keep the best drivers in the race without burning out. What did I say? Pit stops and drivers. So I'm going to ask you a strange question. What do teachers and Formula One have in common? Both are definitely seeded for performance. Both are expected to operate at peak speed and precision. But there's one difference. Formula One cars get a pit stop, but teachers often don't. So speaking of F1, right? Why did this thought come to me? Because I don't know if you've seen the recent movie F1. It's about a veteran driver who returns to the track after being written off. Too many crashes, too much pressure, too tired to race again. With the right pit crew and support, he finds his rhythm and his passion again. And that's what our teachers need too. Because burnouts can silence them, and just the right driver and the right pit crew get them back in the race. So let me tell you a real story. I had a drama teacher who could even make Shakespeare exciting for 7-year-olds. But yes, there was a month when WhatsApp messages, costume sourcing, and more rehearsals kind of unnerved her, and she came on Monday morning without any voice. Doctors called it acute laryngitis, but I saw something else. It was a visible burnout. So what we did is put the pit crew, we assigned the administrative team, gave her a reset zone where she could kind of get her voice back. We got a few teachers to help her out with her rehearsals. And a few weeks later, she got her voice back, and she came back, and there was a joyful, magical teacher. And there's one thing she told me, and it stuck with me, and she said, "I didn't just get my voice back, ma'am. I felt heard." So I think today it's your turn. We're just going to do something quick, because I think well-being is not about me here. It's also about all of you. So we are all going to be a little pit crew. I would have liked both people, but it's only going to be time for one. So we're going to start by doing this. Look at your partner. The first thing we're going to do, F1 style. You have 30 seconds. Polish the windshield. Give your neighbor a compliment. Quickly. Polish the windshield. Give your neighbor a compliment. Okay. Next, top up the fuel tank. Ask the person, what do they need now? I think maybe a cup of coffee for everyone sitting here. Okay? And the third thing, wave the flag. Give everybody a fist bump or a smile. Yes, so I see my time is up, but I'm going to share with you just 3 quick strategies which you could probably take back to your classrooms. So we do something called the Think, Feel, Care. Maybe once a month, we have people jump into each other's roles and do 3 questions, which is basically where you would say, how are you feeling, what's weighing you down, and what support do you need? And then, of course, this is something that I learned at Harvard, and that was micro-journaling, which really helped. And 3 quick prompts, which we would ask staff to do is, 1 win. What worked for you today? What made you smile? What worry, release? What am I leaving behind at school today? And one intention. What's one thing that I will do tomorrow? Because it really creates a mental pit stop, like putting the car in the garage in the night instead of leaving it racing in your head, right? So I think I'm just going to close at this. Who's on your teacher pit crew? But more important, what pit stop will you create for your teachers today? And if nothing works, do a pitch deck. That's the best for well-being. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mahera. I now invite Mr. Shobhan Soy to share and wrap up this big table. Thank you very much for talking about teacher well-being, Mahera. And the point over here is making this connection with F1 has at least started making me reflect how much of a similarity or dissimilarity is there. Thank you. Over to you, Shobhan.
Thank you. शिक्षक और शिक्षक कभी साधारण नहीं होता. आप सबने ये सुना है. चाणक्य की लाइंस हैं. शिक्षक कभी साधारण नहीं होता. प्रलय और निर्माण उसकी गोद में पलते हैं. And I feel, how many of you don't understand Hindi? Anybody here? Okay, then please translate for yourself. I'll use a lot of saral bhasha for myself because it said soulful. So thank you, Ravi, for postponing the coffee. At least we have 50% people sitting here. That was a good trick. Because we were already thinking कि पता नहीं हमें audience मिलेगी कि नहीं, सब थक जाएंगे तब तक. But the whole day was mesmerizing, and I think that is how soulful classrooms need to be. If we could have such engaging sessions, and if we can create our own way of teaching just by knowing the purpose why we are here. अगर हमें यही नहीं पता है कि क्लासरूम में जो बच्चा बैठा है उसके साथ हम जो अगला आधा घंटा जो अभी किसी ने कहा कि हमें वही मिल रहा है. It's like 8 periods, 30 minutes each, 40 minutes each. हर स्कूल का अपना एक टाइम टेबल है. And this is what we are doing all across the country or the world. Why? Even if it is there and we have to follow that structure, as a teacher I'm not allowed to disobey these systems. But can I just bring in the purpose of why I am going to teach that history lesson in the classroom? If I know why I am teaching that history lesson in the classroom, at least I can really look into the eyes of the children and see क्या ये वहाँ तक पहुँचा जो purpose दिया गया था. क्या मेरा काम सिर्फ syllabus पूरा करना है? क्या काम मेरा सिर्फ report cards बनाना है और उसके ऊपर जज करना है कि ये बच्चा लाइफ में क्या करेगा? अगर हम as teachers सिर्फ इतना सा आइडेंटिफाई कर लें कि हमारे क्लासरूम में जो बच्चा बैठा है वो क्या है. Who was Chanakya? A strategist, an economist, but before that he was a teacher. And just by challenging Dhananand, he not only made a सम्राट for Magad, उसने पूरे अखंड भारत के लिए एक सम्राट पैदा कर दिया, just out of a normal child playing in the street. That is the power of a teacher. अगर हम अपनी क्लास में एक सामने बैठे हुए बच्चे की आंख में आंख डाल के ये नहीं देख सकते कि वो कल को आने वाले देश का राजा होगा, वो प्राइम मिनिस्टर हो सकता है, वो एक एंटरप्रेन्योर हो सकता है, वो लाखों लोगों को जॉब्स देने वाला हो सकता है, वो एआई जैसी कोई नई टेक्नोलॉजी लेके आ सकता है, तो हम एज ए टीचर उसके सामने खड़े ही गलत हैं. हमारा पर्पस सोलफुल हो ही नहीं सकता. हमारा पर्पस सिर्फ वो 9 आवर्स की जॉब करना है या 8 आवर्स की जॉब करना है एंड अपनी सैलरी लेना है. दैट्स इट. वी आर जस्ट फुलफिलिंग आवर टास्क. देयर आर वेरी फ्यू वॉरियर्स दैट रवि टुडे इन्वाइटेड. आई वाज सरप्राइज्ड. कहाँ से ढूंढे? पूरा 1 साल लगता है ऐसे कुछ सोलफुल टीचर्स को ढूंढने में. दैट इज, एंड वी ऑल आर एजुकेटर्स हियर एंड वी ऑल आर hiring people, we all are principals, directors. आपको पता है ऐसा एक ढूंढने में ज़िंदगी निकल जाती है, फिर उनको रिटेन करने में ज़िंदगी निकल जाती है. ठीक है, इट्स वेरी टफ. और अगर सोलफुल मिल जाए तो उसको ना रिटेन करना पड़ता है ना कुछ, बस उसको स्पेस देनी होती है कि कर लो जो आप करना चाहते हो, और वो आपको मगध का सम्राट निकाल के दे देगा. सो आई जस्ट थैंक यू. सो ही सेड, please sum it up. because I come from the ECC world, and all my life I have been with young children, right? I am from K-12 as well, but young is my sole purpose, I would say. I love being with the kindergartens. They don't come there to be taught. They just come there to be loved, to be understood, to be listened. They just don't want anything else. They just want a smile, a pat, just a hug, nothing else. और वो उसी में सब कुछ discover कर लेते हैं, उसी में सब कुछ सीख लेते हैं. They just need that environment to be learned, and they discover themselves. That is what discovery-based learning is. You don't need to teach, and that is what you don't need to do for any class, I would say. It's just discovery-based. If your child cannot calculate the volume of this room by just looking at this room, your length into width into height is just a concept. It's a ratta. You ask an architect, you ask a foreman or a mistri who works on the buildings, he would say, "Bauji, इतने का कमरा है, ये इतनी वॉल्यूम होगी, इस टंकी में इतना पानी आ जाएगा, स्विमिंग पूल में ऐसा हो जाएगा." It's that simple. You ask a person who is ironing the clothes, he would say, 50 कपड़े थे, इतने पैसे बनते हैं. He might have never seen a school. That's what comes with the experience. That's what comes with the skill. And our child spends 70,000 hours in a school education system, and closely 24,000 hours within the school. I'm minusing all the Saturdays, Sundays, and all the hours that the child was at home. What is the skill that the child is taking home? I don't know my time. Okay, time up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shobhan. The count is 4 minutes, 20 seconds left, so we possibly have time for about one question. Anyone from the audience? Question 1, question 2, question 3, done. No questions. Let's take questions, if anyone has questions. No. We made them speechless. So, great. Shreya, over to you.
Thank you so much. I think I really liked today's session, and the speakers were incredible as always. I think one thing that really struck me today, or that I felt a connection to, was when Mr. Gautam was talking about the importance of building the connections and human relationships, and having that strong sense of culture. So, and how we were talking about, breaking that fear and having candid conversations with your principals and coordinators and your heads, right? And it just took me back to when I was in school, which was just 3 years ago, by the way. I work at the same school that I graduated from, which is Akshar Arbol International School in Chennai. And it just took me back to how we follow similar practices there, where you find your coordinators and principals just walking in the corridors and having conversations with all the children, no matter their age, and they're very approachable. So the kind of environment, I think it just took me back to my school days, and it was really nice. And we also talk a lot about building human relationships and having a sense of community, and what we call Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is the idea of the world being one family. So I just thought I would take a moment to share that. Now, I request Mr. Ravi Santlani to kindly felicitate our speakers.